Shavkat Rakhmonov is here to make the UFC welterweight division great again, and here is why. Since Tyron Woodley first strapped on the belt, the welterweight division has entered its dark ages. From a gun-shy Woodley to a string of dull wrestlers as champions, and now with pillow-fisted Belal matches. Lay and pray techniques, which resulted in endless decision victories, have drained the excitement, and the only one who can break this cycle is the cutthroat nomad, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Let's dive into the past decade of this division and see how this Kazakh warrior is poised to save the welterweight division from sinking deeper into its dark ages. The 170-pound division wasn't always like this. Remember Robbie Lawler, the ruthless slugger with a PhD in violence? He won the belt after a hard-fought battle against Johnny Hendricks, which was only an overture to what was about to come. In his first title defense, Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald went out there without bulletproof vests and helmets and jumped headfirst into a slugfest. After trading dynamite on the feet for 5 rounds, Robbie managed to overpower the unlucky challenger, retain the title, and give us one of the greatest fights of all time, later crowned Fight of the Year. The American went into another war with Carlos Condit, but was then defeated by Tyron Woodley, marking the beginning of the division's dark ages. Woodley was the kind of fighter who packed a lot of power in his hands, but he was always gun-shy, which led to lackluster performances. When Kamaru Usman snatched the belt from him, there was a glimmer of hope as people were tired of Woodley's frozen performances, but in reality, it was the same donkey with a different saddle. Usman's style consisted of playing it safe with lay-and-pray tactics, utilizing wrestling to subdue opponents on the mat. While dominant, he wasn't looking for finishes. Sure, he had a few good performances, but most of the time, he was shooting for takedowns, controlling fighters in the clinch against the cage, and stomping their feet for the entire fight. Just when it seemed like Kamaru would bulldoze through the opposition and probably retire as champ, he got crow-copped to oblivion by Leon Edwards. Now, Leon isn't a wrestler, but some would argue that he's very reserved and calculated. The Usman knockout gave fans hope that a new mythological creature had arrived. A knockout artist 2.0 Leon who would destroy his adversaries. But in reality, the Englishman had only won 3 of his 12 UFC fights by knockout up to that point, and once he had the belt, the old pillow hands Edwards returned. Though an excellent kickboxer, he fought too cautiously, never putting himself in harm's way. He kept opponents at bay, picking them apart with strikes from a distance without any urgency to close the show. And if you thought this was the point when the welterweight division hit rock bottom, you might not be familiar with Belal Muhammad. Belal puts people to sleep, but not in the way you'd hope. He makes the audience fall asleep out of boredom watching him fight. If you could combine Woodley's inactivity on the feet, Usman's smothering wrestling, and Leon's lack of power into one fighter, that fighter would be Belal Muhammad. Out of 19 UFC fights, Belal has only won 2 by knockout. Not even classic knockouts where a guy is laid flat on the floor, but TKO victories where the referee had to step in. Tyron Woodley and Kamaru Usman at least had a few knockouts on their resumes, and even Edwards can brag about having one of the best high-kick knockouts in UFC history. But when it comes to Belal, everyone knows what's coming. A long lay-and-pray, lackluster performance whenever he enters the octagon. Though his fighting style is effective, most fans would rather watch a lame romantic comedy with their girlfriends than sit through a Belal Muhammad fight. But the good news is, this saga of boring welterweight champions is about to change, and the knight in shining armor who will light the torch for this positive shift is Shavkat Rakhmonov. When you have a perfect record of 18 wins and no defeats, that's already impressive. But when you consider that none of those 18 opponents survived to hear the final bell, that speaks volumes. With that in mind, it's the perfect time to revisit Shavkat's UFC run and decide for yourself why this new blood is the welterweight champion the UFC and every MMA fan needs. By June 2019, Shavkat Rakhmonov had comfortably dismantled his local competition before finally landing on the UFC's radar. His UFC debut wasn't exactly a walk in the park, as he was welcomed by Alex Oliveira, a dangerous finisher and UFC veteran with over 30 fights to his name. It was Rakhmonov's right overhand that kicked off the brawl, followed by a vicious knee aimed straight at Oliveira's liver, Hannibal Lecter style. The Nomad began unloading brutal right uppercuts, and Oliveira fired back. The Brazilian reversed the position, clinching Shavkat against the cage before attempting a takedown, arguably one of the worst decisions of his career. The Kazakh fighter took control, sunk in a guillotine, and just like that, cut off his opponent's oxygen supply. He was here to stay. Fast forward to February 5th, 2022, and Rakhmonov found himself facing Carlston Harris, a fighter with a solid 17-4 record, coming off 2 jaw-dropping finishes. The Nomad stalked his prey like Freddy Krueger, landing kicks and punches. The first highlight came when Shavkat launched a spinning back kick to the liver, followed by a slick boxing combo that had Harris wobbling. That spinning kick was just the beginning. Shavkat kept the pressure on, executing a beautiful judo throw that would make even Karo Parisian jealous. Then, in the final minute of the first round, Rakhmonov went full Jean-Claude Van Damme, unleashing a spinning hook kick that hit its mark. Smelling blood, the Kazakh unloaded bombs, forcing the referee to step in before Harris needed a stretcher. Bonus, and he was just getting started. Before that explosive knockout, Rakhmonov faced Michel Prazeres, a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who had a notable win over former title challenger Gilbert Burns. In just his second UFC fight, it seemed like Shavkat was being thrown to the wolves. But the matchmakers didn't know that Rakhmonov is the type of guy who returns leading the pack. Prazeres, knowing his strength, went for a takedown, hoping to take the fight into his realm. But bringing Shavkat down proved to be an uphill battle, and they soon found themselves in a clinch. The Nomad capitalized with a perfectly timed outside trip takedown, but quickly got back to his feet, knowing he was in dangerous territory. The chess match continued in close quarters until the end of the round, but the real action kicked off in the second. Rakhmonov fired off a spinning kick that missed, but still discouraged Prazeres from standing with him. The Kazakh landed a knee, forcing the Brazilian to dive for a takedown. After stuffing it, Shavkat unleashed a barrage of strikes reminiscent of the Normandy invasion. Prazeres tried to escape, but fell into Rakhmonov's trap, giving up his back, and the Kazakh locked in a rear naked choke, giving him the choice to tap or nap. Michel Prazeres wasn't just any fighter, he's a second-degree BJJ black belt, but Shavkat beat him at his own game. In June 2022, Shavkat's competition got stiffer as he faced UFC veteran Neil Magny, who holds the record for most wins in UFC welterweight history. Known for his leech-like fighting style, Magny seemed like a tough puzzle for Shavkat to solve, especially since the Kazakh had been taken down before. But instead of avoiding the ground, the Nomad decided to play Russian roulette, taking the fight into Magny's territory. He worked the head and body with heavy ground and pound, leaving Magny with no answers. A moment of hope appeared when Magny attacked the legs, but submitting Rakhmonov with a leg lock was like trying to break steel with a glass hammer. The second round was a replay of the first, with Rakhmonov controlling Magny on the ground while delivering punishing shots. Desperate, Magny tried to escape but exposed his neck, and Shavkat latched on a guillotine, reminding everyone that his grip is as deadly as a boa constrictor's. Another flawless victory, another performance of the night bonus for the Nomad, who hadn't faced much real resistance until his next fight. In 2023, Rakhmonov was locked in a cage with slugger Jeff Neal, coming off 2 big wins over Santiago Ponzinibbio and Vicente Luque. Neal, known as Hands of Steel, earned his nickname by sending opponents to the Shadow Realm with ease, and when 2 dangerous strikers meet, fireworks are guaranteed. Neal opened with a high kick and a combo that got Shavkat's attention. The Kazakh answered with a similar combo, landing clean. In the closing minute of the first round, Shavkat launched a relentless assault, forcing Neal to retreat. The second round was more of the same, with Rakhmonov dishing out brutal combos while Neal's counters fell short. As Shavkat threw a spinning heel kick that landed partially. Neal fired back and an all-out war erupted. For the first time, Shavkat realized he was no longer at the top of the food chain, but managed to clinch and regain his composure. Once back in control, he unleashed a devastating blow that hurt Neal badly. With no other option, Neal accepted the brawl, and Rakhmonov sealed the deal with a standing rear naked choke, putting him to sleep. The heavy-hitting maestro decided to end 2023 with a bang, So he accepted a bout against Stephen Thompson, a karate virtuoso and a former title challenger. The Kazakh grabbed the bull by the horns and wrapped up the submission like a Christmas gift no one asked for, resulting in one of the biggest wins in his career. The scary thing about this bout is that Shavkat made it look easy. Now the Nomad has been given the opportunity to seize the crown in the UFC's welterweight division, currently held by Belal Muhammad, and he's just one step away from breaking Belal's face the way he broke Laura Sanko's heart. The two are set to clash on December 7th, 2024 at UFC 310. While Muhammad's wrestling prowess poses some threat to Shavkat, it's nothing he hasn't faced before. The Kazakh is one of the most well-rounded fighters on the roster, with almost as many knockouts as submission wins in his professional career. If he imposes his game plan like he always does, he will systematically dismantle his opponent and claim the UFC belt. Rakhmonov is a perfect model of what a UFC champion should be, a primary supplier of brutal knockouts and slick submissions for the division. So, stay tuned and watch how Shavkat issues Belal a one-way ticket straight to the Dead Sea and makes the welterweight division great again. And what do you fight fans think about this? Do you believe Shavkat Rakhmonov has what it takes to be a long-reigning champ? Leave your thoughts in the comments and make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this.